on behalf of the Columbus Karma Take Some Choling, wishing you a happy Sunday, but also a happy Losar. I wanted to check in with everyone this morning as part of our celebration and observance of Tibetan New Year, also called Losar. And I'm going to be giving a short talk in a little bit on the topic of love. So wanted to begin with a short prayer. Or Sanjay Chudon Sochi Chonamla Janchu Bardu Dani Chab Suchi Daji Jin Soji Pei Sonamji Trola Penshir Sanche Parsho. And in English, in the Buddha, his teaching, and the order most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may we attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. So I'm hoping that you are doing well and enjoying the sunshine today, because it is a glorious sunny day here in Central Ohio, which is an unusual thing to say this time of year, because often in the month of February, it can be a very dark month because of the Great Lakes that are north of us that provide us with a great cloud cover in the winter. It keeps us warm, but it also causes a bit of shall we say, sunlight deprivation. And so when we see that big orb of light in the sky, at first we might be a little bit wondering what it is. So in any case, I'm really happy that we have light today, because I'd like for us to start with a sense of gratitude toward each other and toward the community that we've created together of practitioners of meditation and Buddhism. And I want to express my thanks to all of you for everything that you have been doing the last 5 years that the Columbus KTC has been raising money to try to rebuild their center. And we're getting closer and closer and closer to being done. The construction began on September the 8th and is continuing now. And we are hoping that it will be done. The date they're giving us is Earth Day, April 22nd. So I'm very excited about that. But I'm feeling grateful to all of you for all that you have given and all of the prayers that you have been doing for us, because I have to tell you, I really think that the prayers have made the difference. The board, especially our administrative director, Kim Miracle, has done just a phenomenal job keeping all of the aspects of building a new Dharma center in view and moving along steadily. And but also there's prayer power. And so I want to thank all of you for bringing prayer to our hearts and bringing prayer to our effort to rebuild. So usually at the Tibetan New Year, or Losar, at the beginning of the Lunar New Year, we make lamp offerings. And I've tried to get in the spirit by adding extra lamp offerings to my shrine and a few extra water bowls. And I invite all of you to do the same on your shrines at home. Make a couple extra offerings, and to make some offerings specifically of light, because light is symbolic of our inner wisdom, the inner wisdom of our Buddha nature. And by making an outer offering of light to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we cultivate that inner light, that inner wisdom that's within us. And so anyway, I'm going to encourage people to do that. If we were in person, we would be offering 108 lamps to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas today, and making the lamp offering prayers. So I'm going to make just a short informal lamp offering prayer right now to the Buddha, the King of Illumination, to all of the Bodhisattvas who show us the way, and to the great Sangha and Dharma, the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. We offer these lights. May light spread throughout the world, and may all beings come to know the light of their own inner nature and their inner goodness. So that's a short lamp offering prayer for today. I know that many of you have tuned in both on YouTube and Facebook today for the first time, perhaps. And I want to thank Kim and the administrative board of the Columbus KTC for allowing us to have this experiment where we're experimenting with live webcasts on the Facebook platform and on the YouTube platform, live streaming of our Dharma Sunday morning 11:30 Dharma talks. We hope it goes well. We hope that there are no glitches, and I'm hoping that at this moment, if you're out there, you can type something into chat and let us know you're there. And if you have any questions or curiosities, you can type them into chat also. And then I'll be pausing partway through the program to look at the chat and to see what you've had to say. So thanks again for helping us with our experiment of using a streaming platform for YouTube and Facebook. So and I know that another group of you are probably tuning in today because you are interested in finding out the winner of the raffle. And yes, the winners of the raffle have been chosen, and they will be announced at the end. This morning at 9:30 in the morning, Kim Miracle and I got together on a Zoom call, and she had the list of tickets up, and I hit the random number generator on good old Google, and we selected the winners of our 8 prizes, and we'll be announcing those at the end of the hour today. The topic I chose for today, no surprise, is love. And there's a couple of reasons to choose this, and not just because it's Valentine's Day and so on. I've spoken on this topic before, and I think that there's always something we can learn from it. So my topic today is finding true love. And I know that everyone who talks about love knows that there are many different types. There is the love that partners feel for one another. There's the love that parents feel for their children. There's the love between friends. There's the love of siblings and family. And there's also sort of a universal love that is, some people even call it divine love. But I think that of all the types of love there are in the world, the one that people prize and aspire to is unconditional love. Love that doesn't depend on conditions. Love that doesn't depend on circumstances. Unconditional love is our ideal. The reason I think it's an ideal is because for a lot of us, it's a little bit difficult to accomplish. And why is that? It's because currently in our own minds, there's a lot that stands in the way of unconditional love. We have preferences. We like for the people we like to like us back. That's one condition we can place on love. I will love you if you love me back, or if you show me that you love me back in the way that I think you should. So this is one thing that stands in the way of unconditional love. Another might be perceptions of harm. For example, if someone has harmed us in the past, we might find it a little bit difficult to feel any caring or affection for them because of the harm that they've created. And this is true both in situations where the harm was assuaged by apology, and also those where the harm is worsened by no apology. We'll call it compounded by no apology. So in these kinds of situations, there's a barrier between us and the other person, or us and the situation. And we might find our love sorely tested by circumstances. Sometimes we're prejudiced against other people because of what they've done, or or who they are, or that they believe differently than we do. I'll never forget talking to a young person once who aspired to a ministry career and then said, "But I'm going to have a problem if I ever have to minister to someone who I disagree with politically." And I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, the person is starting at a bit of a deficit in love, and they're going to need to really train to be able to feel love, affection, and caring for people who are on the opposite side of the political spectrum from them." And the reason, this person said, was because they negatively judged that person as not being a good person because of their beliefs. So, as you can see, there are a lot of conditions that get in the way of our being able to genuinely give love and even receive love, because sometimes the person we're prejudiced against is ourselves. It could be that we see ourselves in a negative light, perhaps because of many years of people telling us that we weren't worthy, many years of people outside of ourselves, maybe even people we trusted, not giving us unconditional love, not providing us with a good sense of who we are and could be. And so sometimes the person we're prejudiced against and feel no love toward is ourselves. And so these examples make it difficult for us. Sometimes we feel we're not worthy, and we just are not able to allow love to come in. Even if someone were to say they cared for us or loved us, we might not believe it. So these are examples of how love can be conditioned. But we're looking for unconditional love, the kind of love that doesn't depend on circumstances, that doesn't depend on what people think of us, or even whether our affections are returned or not. We're looking for an example of love that's like the sun. Our teacher, the founder of our center, Kempo Karthar Rinpoche, he gave the example of the sun as an example of unconditional love. He said, "The sun shines without preference. The sun shines when the light comes above the horizon in the morning and dawn breaks, and that light spreads and fills all of the landscape. The sun does not make a decision, I will shine on this person, but not on this person. The sun merely shines." And if we want to have a love that is like the sun, then we need to begin to remove those barriers to feeling that love and remove the barriers to expressing that love. Now, fortunately, we live in a world where there are lots of examples of unconditional love. We've seen them throughout history. We've seen great people who have sacrificed themselves to benefit others. Some of them are heralded by their life stories and by the awards that they've been given over time. Florence Nightingale, the great nurse; Mother Teresa, the great spiritual teacher, who also served every person she met as though they were the founder of her religion, Jesus Christ himself. And then we also have the Buddha Shakyamuni, who gave loving care and attention even to the lowliest in society, and uplifted everyone he met, men, women, lowest, highest. He uplifted everyone and taught them to see their own inner nature of love and goodness. In fact, the Buddha, in his famous book of sayings, the Dhammapada, he said that love is what changes the world. He said, "Hate never once dispelled hate. Only love dispels hate." So the barriers that stand between us and other people are built of prejudice, they're built of preference, they're built of selfish desire to have things our way. And if we can begin to dismantle these walls that prevent us from feeling love for others or feeling love for ourselves, if we can begin to dismantle these from the inside, we might be able to both give and receive love in ways we haven't been able to before. Another example besides the Buddha Shakyamuni was our own, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche. We miss him very much. He passed away in 2019, but we're still thinking about him. And in fact, we just wrote a letter on behalf of all of the Karma Thegsum Choling centers in North and South America, asking for His Holiness and His sacred vision to help us connect to our teacher and hopefully find a rebirth of his, a reincarnation of his teaching and being. Our own Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche was a sterling example of unconditional love. I can tell a few episodes from my life, my 40 years of time with Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, who I met when I was just 23 years old, and stayed and spent time with as a student. I remember that one day I was in 3-year retreat, and I was walking around the outside of the shrine of our retreat building, as we often did then, in order to accumulate merit, because circumambulation, or walking in a clockwise direction around an object, a sacred object, is said to be a way of honoring and venerating that object. So I would walk around the retreat house for about half an hour at a time, 90 minutes a day. And it was both my exercise and my time to enjoy the sky. But one day, Khenpo Rinpoche was looking at me as I was walking up one side of the building, and he said in English, he said, "Oh, please wait. Please wait." And then I stopped, and I saw that a worker had come into the yard of the retreat house. Now, many of us took a vow when we went into retreat not to be seen by outside people for the entire 3 years of the retreat. So even just catching sight of a worker would have been a fault. And so, but what's really interesting is how Rinpoche spoke to me. He spoke to me as though I was a granddaughter. "Oh, honey, please wait." He didn't say, "Silly you, stop now." He was so gentle and so kind. He spoke to people as though they were his children or his grandchildren, always from a loving point of view. And when he would speak sharply to us, it was because there was an imminent danger of some kind. But even in this situation, he chose to be kind. And it just touched me, and I will always remember it. So what is happening in unconditional love? In unconditional love, a person who is attempting to cultivate it or to feel it, what they are doing is setting aside their selfishness, whether it's the selfishness of prejudicial judgment or the selfishness of wanting things their way. And they set aside this judgment momentarily to see the interconnectedness of all people. His Holiness the 17th Karmapa gave a talk about this a few years ago, and he said that one of the biggest dangers to humanity was not necessarily nuclear warfare or climate change. He said lack of love is really what's endangering humanity in this century. And he said if we could somehow reverse our lack of love for each other, if we could somehow find it in our hearts to reverse this lack of love, there would be less suffering in the world and more goodness flooding throughout the world. And it's true. If we look at the last year and the last 2 years and the last 3 years, the last decade, all of the difficult things that have arisen in our society and life have arisen because of dislike, where someone dislikes and disrespects another person. I think what happens is that people feel pain in their life. They feel disappointment in their life. And instead of trying to find a way out of their situation, they'll look outward and think, surely someone else is to blame for this situation. And if I only can defeat that enemy, then I will be victorious. I will be victorious. You'll find it interesting that the word in Tibetan for arrogance is ngajal. Nga means I or me, and jal means victorious. So ngajal, or I victorious, is arrogance, the feeling that somehow we are superior to others and that they need to do what we want them to do and be who we want them to be. And if we can somehow find a way to disengage our judgment, disengage our selfish judgment just for a moment, then perhaps we could allow something else into the picture. Perhaps we could allow love to enter the picture, and a love that it doesn't depend on circumstance. If we think about it, everything we have in this world comes from other people. The clothing that we wear was made by someone, even if that someone merely pushed a button on a machine that did the sewing. And everything we own and have come from either the earth or the people who live on the earth who take those objects and create from them. Our offering bowls, they take the wood from trees and make furniture. They take the fabric and the cloth and create clothing. Everything we have comes from somewhere else. And if we take a moment with any object and think about where it came from, we can begin to see that we are actually not ngajal, arrogant, self-centered people. We're actually part of a web of connection. And we have a choice. We may not feel we have a choice, but we have a choice as to how we view that connection. Do we view that connection as a positive thing, or do we view that connection as a negative thing? So just stopping for a moment and feeling gratitude can be a way of expressing unconditional love for others. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in one of his public talks a few years ago, encouraged his audience to sit quietly and mentally extend love, first to themselves, then to their families, then to their localities and the world and the whole universe. Just mentally extend love as an exercise. This is very similar to the exercise that the television host Fred Rogers, who many people know as Mr. Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he used to have people do this when he would give public talks. He would encourage people to sit and think about all of the people who helped them become who they are today, and to spend a few moments steeping themselves in feelings of gratitude for those people. And so a couple of things we can do to cultivate moments of unconditional love are this quiet sitting and mentally extending love, and sitting quietly and extending gratitude and feeling gratitude. So these are things that we can practice even now in order to help us cultivate feelings of love that are unconditional. So we have to train. We can't just instantly feel unconditional love because we still have so many interfering thoughts and feelings and ideas. And so we have to find ways to train. And one of the ways we can train is through prayer and recitation. There's a wonderful prayer called the Prayer of Maitreya. And in this aspiration prayer of Maitreya, we pray to be of benefit to all beings. And there are many, many other situations and prayers that we can say in order to accomplish goodness for ourselves and others. And I want to share here today, I want to share something from the Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. This was written in the 8th century of the Common Era, And it is it's a lengthy poem. All but chapter 9 is written in verse. And chapter 9 is written as a narrative debate between two concepts of how the world works. But the rest of it is about the power of bodhicitta. Bodhi means awakening and citta means mind. The awakening mind, or bodhicitta mind, is the mind that sees this interconnectedness, that recognizes that we all have Buddha nature, and therefore we are all deserving of love and compassion, and that we can actually train the mind in love and compassion through exchanging ourselves for others. All of the world's great religions believe in and follow some form of what's called the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And Buddhism has this as well. And in Shantideva's work, he articulates this exchanging by this principle through the topic exchanging oneself for others. He says, if we think and project outward and think, I am like this person, or I am like that person, and see the sameness in ourselves and other people, we start with people we feel close to and see the sameness, how we're the same as others. And then we go through ever more difficult people to approach until finally we approach in our thoughts people who we feel completely unlike, and see, even in the midst of our differences, there are things that are the same. For example, we all want to be happy. I don't think there's a single person out there who would put their hand up and say, I don't want to be happy. I think everybody wants that. And recognizing that as our common goal as human beings is a good start toward cultivating the unconditional love that is going to make our lives better. And so one of the things I wanted to do is in the Shantideva's book, The Way of the Bodhisattva, he talks about how to appreciate others, how to find appreciation for others. And so I'm going to read these verses from chapter 5, which is chapter 5 of the 10-chapter book, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, or Way of the Bodhisattva, is titled Vigilance. And it's about maintaining awareness of how things really are, which means maintaining awareness of our interconnectedness. And so he comes up with a really interesting proposition here. And I'll read the verses first, and then we'll talk about them. Chapter 5, verse 77. The goal of every act is happiness itself, though even with great wealth, it's rarely found. So take your pleasure in the qualities of others. Let them be a heartfelt joy for you. Verse 78. By acting thus in this life, you will lose nothing. In future lives, great bliss will come to you. The sin of envy brings not joy, but pain. And in the future, dreadful suffering. Verse 79. Speak with honest words, coherently, with candor, and a clear, harmonious voice. Abandon partiality, rejection, and attraction, and speak with moderation, gently. Now, verse 80. And catching sight of others, think that it will be through them that you will come to Buddhahood. So look upon them with open, loving hearts. So I love this set of verses because it gives us a sort of how-to practice, how to be more loving, how to be more kind. And he starts by saying the goal of every act is happiness itself. So that means whatever human beings do, they are trying to be happy. Even though, even with great wealth, it's rarely found. So take pleasure in the qualities of others. Let them be heartfelt joy to you. So he's saying that because wealth, not everyone has wealth, and not everyone has the power to bring about happiness in their lives, that they should make use of the vast natural resource, if you want to put it that way, the vast untapped natural resource of other people. Most of us spend our lives comparing ourselves to other people, mostly in a negative way, like, oh, that person's better than me, or that person's worse than me. We do a lot of this. And in fact, some of our hot takes and some of our sick burns are because we sit and think about other people and think of them as being less than us, and open to criticism and fair game for our derision and our mockery. I know I've been guilty of that as much as anybody else. You have to remember, I spent 15 years writing as a newspaper writer, and a lot of newspaper writers are incredibly clever at finding ways to insult other people and make it look nice. So I feel like I have some remedial work to do here. So what he's saying, what Shantideva is saying is, yes, it's hard to find happiness in this world. Even if you're wealthy, it's hard to find happiness. But if you take joy in other people, you'll never run out of causes for happiness. So he says, by acting in this way, in this life, you lose nothing. In other words, by treasuring the qualities and rejoicing in the qualities of other people, finding what's good in them, you'll lose nothing, and you'll enrich your own appreciation for virtue within yourselves. And in future lives, you'll have formed the attitude of seeing the best in other people. And then he goes on to say, and you won't suffer from the sin of envy, which brings only suffering. And then he encourages us to live out this joy by speaking honestly, with candor, in a clear, harmonious way, like Kemper Bichet saying to me, "Oh dear, please." Abandon partiality, rejection, and attraction, and speak with moderation gently. And catching sight of others, think that it will be through them that you will come to Buddhahood. So look at them with open, loving hearts. Now, that last one may seem like a bit of a mystery to you, but it's not. When you look deeply into it, if we want to practice bodhicitta, the mind of awakening, we need other people for that. We can't just practice bodhicitta by ourselves, with ourselves as the object. For example, if we look at the 6 perfect virtues of the Mahayana, the 6 perfect virtues of the Mahayana are generosity, ethics, patience, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. Only the last 2 are about ourselves alone. And so generosity, we require others to practice giving and practice stepping out of ourselves and stepping away and stepping through that wall that we build between ourselves and others. That's generosity. Whether we're giving time, energy, money, whatever we're giving, we step across that line. And ethics means we treat people fairly and have a stable mind ourselves. So treating people ethically, that requires others. And patience certainly requires others, although we all need to practice some patience with ourselves too. So we need others for practicing at least these 3. Diligence, okay, maybe diligence requires others, but maybe not, in order to practice our meditation and our patience and our generosity. Yeah, I guess we do need others for that. And meditation, maybe it doesn't rely on others, but it does rely on our capacity to think about them and to wish for their happiness and to dedicate ourselves to practicing meditation on their behalf. And then finally, wisdom comes from seeing the true nature of all things. So in this way, if we can think of others and look at others and take joy in seeing others, this will help us to see the goodness in others and also the goodness in ourselves. And it will help us to practice generating love for them. For example, we can think, as the Dalai Lama says, we can sit on our meditation seats and think about all the beings in the world and mentally extend love to them. And as Mr. Rogers teaches, we can think with gratitude about all who have helped us become the person we are today. Sitting just for a moment, once a day, twice a day, whenever we think of it, it can transform how we see ourselves, and it can transform how we see others. So that's a little bit on the topic of finding true love. That true love is this unconditional love that shines like the sun, is within each one of us. And even if we've had difficult lives and have not been always able to offer love to others in appropriate ways, we still have it within us to offer this love to others. And we can do it from the safety of our meditation seats by thinking of others and feeling gratitude and sending them love. But when we're actually with others, we can practice it through restraint, as Kemp Rinpoche did. He could have spoken sharply to me that day, but he chose to see me as a child who was acting heedlessly, without care. And then he treated me with gentleness. And when a person treats us with gentleness, it's something we remember forever. And then if we could then become that person for somebody else, how powerful is that? So that's a little bit about the topic and how we can practice love in our everyday lives. Now, I have taken a moment to look at the chat, and I don't see any questions, but I do see that some folks have checked in, and I appreciate you checking in. I don't know which service you're on, because I'm using the Restream website live studio, so I don't know who's on Facebook and who's on YouTube, but I'm definitely happy you're there. If you have any questions, you can type them in chat, and I'll stay here for another few minutes and answer any questions you might have. So I see no questions. So what I'll do instead then is I'll do a little bit of meditation. We'll sit for about maybe 3 or 5 minutes, and then I'll make a few remarks regarding the KTC project and how things are going. I now have a meditation gong. Okay, great. So let's sit quietly for about 3 to 5 minutes. And one of the ways that we can access our capacity to change our minds and to feel love and compassion is by doing quiet sitting meditation. And so to do quiet sitting meditation, we sit in a comfortable posture, whether it's in a chair or on the floor. And we can either cast our eyes downward and gaze gently at the floor a few feet ahead of us, or we can close our eyes lightly. And we begin by taking one deep breath, feeling that the breath goes below the navel, and then breathing out, and then allowing the breath to come and go naturally, following the course of the breath in and out. When we have thoughts in meditation, we can practice some of that patience and practice some of that gentleness by regarding the thought that has arisen with curiosity. We can even label it thinking, then we can let it go. and then return our attention to the breath for a fresh start in our meditation. So, using this method of placing attention, and then when the attention wanders, replacing our attention. We'll sit like this for about just a few minutes, and then after that, if there are no questions, then we'll wrap up for today. Now we'll spend another minute meditating and thinking that we extend love first to ourselves, then to those close to us, and then to all beings. Then, letting go of the visualization, one rests the mind quietly for just a moment. Okay. Thanks very much. Um, it's really been delightful to spend time with you today, and I hope I will once again put in a recommendation for this book, The Way of the Bodhisattva. It's a really engaging exposition on how love can change your life, and what I tell people is if you ever doubt that you have Buddha nature, read chapter 1, read chapter 2, and read chapter 3 out loud to yourself to remind yourself of who you have the potential to be. Now, before concluding for today, I do want to let you know that we were very gratified and delighted that so many people donated toward our we called it the win-win raffle to help to raise money for the rebuilding of Columbus KTC. we have a whole bunch of donated prizes. And so we're giving those donated prizes to the following people. There is an 8-inch rupa or statue of the Buddha, and that is going to our Dharma friend Ted Slater. And the treasure vase is going to our Dharma friend Therona Ramos. The large Guru Rinpoche statue is going to Bruce Wilhelmsen. The small one is going to Joe Myers. The wooden prayer wheel is going to Marianne Yanosik. The medicine Buddha Tanka is going to our friend in Northern Ohio, Zach Fiesel. The Kala Chakra mantra wall hanging is going to Adam Jones. And the Dharma King book about the 16th Karmapa is going to Julie Henderson. So we had a great time working on this fundraising project, and we raised $3,500 for Columbus KTC's rebuilding. And want to let you know that you can check out our website, www.columbusktc.org, as well as our newsletter, which you can subscribe to by going online to our website and clicking on subscribe. And also, you can listen to our podcasts on Apple and Google Play and a couple of other different places. So there's Dharma everywhere. Additionally, this week, there will be, starting on tomorrow, which is the 15th, His Holiness Karmapa, the 17th Karmapa, is giving a series of teachings starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time on the life of the 8th Karmapa, Mikya Dorje. And I think you'll really enjoy hearing these amazing stories about a great meditation master who lived centuries ago, but whose example is still fresh. So I'm hoping that you can take advantage of that as well. Meanwhile, I send you my greetings and good wishes on behalf of myself and Lama Adam and Lama Tom and the entire board and community of Columbus KTC. We're getting closer and closer to being together, guys, and we have you to thank. So please be well and practice your meditation. Even just for a few minutes every day is going to help you. And then come back to Facebook and YouTube next week for a Dharma talk on, I believe, I better not say who's next week because I don't have it in front of me. And if I get it wrong, that won't be good. So, but do tune in at 11:30 next Sunday for another Dharma talk. So, Om Mani Padme Hung, Om Mani Padme Hung, Om Mani Padme Hung. Let's dedicate the virtue of our time together today to the benefit of all suffering beings, that they may see their inner goodness and see the inner goodness of others. I'll recite the short prayer in English. Through this merit, may all achieve the omniscience of Buddhahood. May it defeat our common enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may we free all beings. May we free all beings. May we free all beings. Okay, thank you. And someone on chat just entered the next topic will be Kathy Lamo, who shared for us recently on the shrine, is going to be teaching on calling the guru from afar. Part 1. It'll be a 2-parter, so that'll be next week. Thanks a lot, Lama Adam. I appreciate that. Okay, all, take really good care of each other, and I'll be seeing you again. Om Mani Padme Hum.